why do you think we're masked up and in what we're calling costumes at this point, brother?
Yeah, so I had the same question in terms of the mask. I think part of it just comes down to what is still possibly a social stigma around nakedness. So, there's a lot of vulnerability, number one, with nakedness, but there's also some social risks involved, I guess, with exposing yourself in that way with respect to, people who have certain jobs, maybe with the city or something like that, or something that carries a higher risk of, these sorts of potential consequences in the public space. Maybe there are certain risks involved, but also I think just nakedness as a whole, be it physical nakedness or emotional nakedness, it can feel scary for people. So I think a mask can sometimes offer a little feeling of safety and comfort for people before they to kind of like ease into the practice itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and the whole direction of this isn't just, because that's just one component of why we're wearing the mask and we'll talk about it too, because you have a more open perspective when it comes to you talking about polyamory to other people, and that stigma not as much being there for you. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I think that's what we talked about. So it's not even just like nudity, but it's also talking about having the shame and guilt and the fear of talking about STDs and genital herpes, and also, people not being able to speak on this because of family or societal judgment, or people putting their career at risk, or goddamn spiritual ostracization, or just they feel like they have to suppress themselves. So there will be environments where I'm creating myself of events where they'll be recorded, but people will be able to speak their truth with the mask on. With us, we're about to be getting naked very soon. But in general, we'll be able to, this is just the symbolism for ski mask wise, is to what I say is hold the truth for ransom. And it's not to hide, but it's to be seen. And it's to be able to, start the conversation and have people question, like, what is that? Not even just for attention, but just to have people question, like, what their values and morals and beliefs are and what that means. And so this is a bigger symbolism to say, why do people judge? And also that's on the back end, but also on our end, and a lot of people in our community, for them to be able to speak their truth at a high level without fucking feeling like their whole life's gonna come crashing down. So that being the case,
Could I ask you a follow-up question to that?
Yeah.
Do you think in the long-term vision for people in society, do you think it, like, eventually the masks could or would, or it's better for them to become unnecessary in the long term? Or do you think the masks always hold a certain importance in terms of maybe like exposing my personal identity along with my nakedness isn't as relevant as just allowing myself to be naked regardless of my personal identity? Like, what are your thoughts on that in terms of, is the mask an essential component to this in the long-term vision? Or do you think it offers a benefit in the long term for humanity to be able to demask?
I think it's a very powerful statement to say that people, make a comparison, but people in the zoo are wearing invisible masks, and that we are choosing to wear the mask so we can have the opportunity to, long term, be able to have people come into this space and be able to, speak what's right for them. I think it is going to be beneficial long term when it comes to events and in general, and hopefully we won't need to wear masks. But I think there's a lot of people wearing masks already, and we're just symbolizing the fact that the mask that we're wearing is what's actually happening already. This is what people do in everyday space. They wear masks with everything, the way they go about their living situation, the way they go about themselves socially, the way they go about themselves in work dynamic, the way they go about their family world. So I do believe long term that this is going to be the opportunity. It's going to be a fun thing. Like right now it's like ski mask and it feels like it's like kind of intense, but it's going to be a fun thing. And people like in costumes that represent the stigma that represents them. And I don't have my fucking pink Power Ranger suit. I'm so mad. But today this is more of a representation of my everyday that I live, but the pink Power Ranger suit, what I would be wearing, is more of just the sacred play that I like to bring out of myself. You know, the child that's within me. But this is more of an expression of myself because I don't have the pink Power Ranger. I'm so mad. But yeah, long term, I definitely see that the case. But you said that you wore the spandex for.
Yeah, I wore my Nike Under Armour today, both for this and also I went out to lunch like this.
Okay.
And I'm also wearing my 2 wristbands, which represent 2 sort of just juxtaposing aspects of myself as well. And so the spandex and the tank top specifically for me represent 2 contrasting aspects of my personality. I tend to, you know, a stigma that I find myself challenged with a lot is stigmas around masculinity, traditional masculinity. And so for me, the Nike Under Armour, specifically wearing these in public, it can be very challenging even for me as somebody who feels relatively comfortable in my body and somebody who really, really does want to break down those barriers of, you know, this concept of traditional masculinity. And so for me specifically, you know, I have this conception around the traditional man as being somebody who wears loose shorts, you know, baggy shorts. And so for me, being able to, one, kind of like be proud of my body, be proud in my body, and also expose a more like feminine aspect of myself and embrace it, that allows me to do that with the bottom half of myself. And then with the top half of myself, I can still embrace an aspect of myself that does have a component of masculine, like, you know, maybe traditional masculinity, but just being able to expose myself in a more traditionally masculine light. And so I have these 2 contrasting aspects to my wear, at least today. In general, I do like to wear more tight-fitting clothes because I feel like it allows me to embrace my form and be proud of my form, and also just showcase it to the world in that way. Like, I don't have to fit a traditional mold of what a male is supposed to look like. I can just be myself and be proud of that. And then in terms of my bracelets, obviously I'm wearing the LGBT colors on my left, and on my right I'm wearing what I like to call the straight bracelet.
But you both got the straight bracelet.
Yeah, we both got a straight bracelet today. Hey, there we go. Rock on. And so I also like to, you know, I am a believer in balance of the spirit. And so, you know, we have these, I think within all of us, we have these sort of juxtaposing aspects of ourselves that sometimes fight each other for contention. And my question, I think sometimes with myself, and a challenge I have, is how do I find the dialectic between those 2 things? Like, how do I get those 2 things to meet in the middle to where both of those can exist peaceably and equitably? And so I am an LGBT ally. I'm in a couple of gay communities where I live. I'm in full support of this community, and I'm still straight. And so both of these aspects are important to me, and it's important for me both within myself and within the larger community to be able to reconcile those 2 things and to have them coexist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I think it would be, I say that I'm a bisexual wannabe, but I think we both can understand and agree to be able to be in these spaces and it not need to be this highly sexual, or even this weird situation where we're in these either naked spaces or with gay men, or, you know, and being able just to be able to express and connect and that freedom of that. So I think that's important.
It's amazing.
Sure. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah.
I love being in spaces like that, and I'm so glad that, you know, specifically we're also, like, this has a component of nudity and nakedness to it, because nakedness is in a way of like shedding that skin, of being able to connect with people on a visceral, pure level. And, you know, I think there is a stigma, as you're saying, I think, is that, you know, usually nakedness is directly symbolic of or directly correlated to being sexual with somebody. And I think there is something to be said for, like, you can be in a platonic space with people, a platonic loving space with people, and feel hyper connected to people while still being naked. In fact, sometimes that helps bring people together in an even more pure form and helps people to talk about those things.
Oh yeah. Well, seeing that nakedness is what we're on, seeing what we're here to do, it's our time to get naked.
See, I'm so used to doing this that it took me a whole 2 seconds.
Well, I have a fucking booth. My life is naked. Naked model.
All right, masks.
There's no more masks. Okay.
You know what's also funny about
Reveal,
this?
John is here. Huh.
We're going to be naked together 2 days in a row.
I know. I know. Tomorrow we're getting. What's good? It's your boy Jungle J, hot and ready, and John, hot and ready, live and direct, changing the world, one bare ass truth at a time. I am the host of the Modern Jungle Podcast, and I'm with my dog, John here.
Yeah, buddy.
Yes, sir. And we are naked.
We are.
Interesting. Anyways.
It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels really good.
This is. It feels
I'm comfortable.
Fuck yeah. We're here. And why are we here? Because we believe that polyamory is going to save the world. And we're here to explain why. We're here because we're having the opportunity to make people's voices that have been whispering, make them loud and clear, as well as bring the stories that are in people's mom's basement, in the unknown to the known. And I want to make it very clear that this is not your monogamous infused language with just a sprinkle of non-monogamy. This is not your fetish, I guess you say fetish niche or swinger lifestyle content. This is going beyond how people view polyamory or non-monogamy. We're going beyond that, and not only that, we're here to talk about psychology and mindset and personal development, as well as the 5 jungle missions, which I'm going to put right here, and the 5 jungle missions. And not only that, we're here because the overall goal is to create a polyamorous community covenant. I will be creating that. Maybe my boy John will be able to be there with me. But yeah, so the root is stigma, and then the 5 jungle missions to be able to obtain the polyamorous community covenant. My polyamorous community covenant is going to be naked as fuck. It's going to be an earned egalitarian environment. It's going to be non-hierarchical. It's going to have health and wellness as fuck, wellness as shit, with the opportunity to have regenerable and sustainable living, that you live off the land, tribe shit, and overall have a heavy hint of spirituality. And then by the time then, we're gonna help people be able to create their own polyamorous community covenants across the U.S., across the world. So that's a bigger mission. Stigma, 5 jungle missions, polyamorous community covenant, and then be able to help the world do the same. So we're here encompassing what modern ideas and modern identities and modern relationships are to create the modern experience. Because honestly, this is the missing piece to what reckless freedom and this suffocating tradition. And that missing piece is polyamory. That missing piece is the Modern Jungle Podcast. And so this is the number 1 naked polyamorous podcast in the world. Welcome to the Modern Jungle Podcast. Sha! Now we are welcoming our oh so great guest. He is a man here for his articulation and his knowledge around polyamory, as along with being in an 8-year rising and falling in love, poly love dynamic, and also trying to figure out what the fuck masculinity is in this world. And so overall, this man is here because he doesn't wear an invisible mask, and he tells his story at a very high level, and he owns his truth. And this is what I'm proud to say. It's my dog, John. Welcome, brother.
That was quite an introduction.
Yeah, that's my boy. We're naked as shit, getting after it.
What does one say to that? I'll do my best to live up to the reputation.
That's my boy. Oh, yes, right, sir.
I appreciate it.
What's good? How you feeling good? So now that we're naked,
feeling good.
I feel better that we're naked now.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, it's a beautiful day too.
Yeah,
I mean, I hate to inject some small talk here, but how about this weather?
How about this weather, bro? How about this
weather?
The
light breeze.
The breeze
it's in this low 70s right now.
Yes.
It's beautiful. Perfect getting naked weather.
Well, you know what I learned today is that small talk can bring a utmost amount of depth if it's combined with a certain amount of nonverbal communication and intention. That's what we talked about today.
Yeah.
Today
we did.
at lunch brunch.
We did.
We need to do the jungle oath. Hand here.
Nope.
Solemnly swear to stay curious, be curious, and forever be curious within modern jungle, brother?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, you swear?
Yes.
Let's get naked. We're naked. Yes, sir. Stay curious, baby. Okay, now we have the opportunity to do a jungle polarity. Jungle polarity. What's a jungle polarity? Well, we either have the opportunity between mass chaos or the opportunity between unmasked truth. We're either going to get pied in the face, get sprayed with water, or do something playful and ridiculous. Or you have the opportunity for us to both reveal something vulnerable about ourselves, while also we have something that is a jungle ritual, which is, I think you'd be interested in these. So you either have the
I'm interested in the whole situation going on right now.
Okay.
Oh shit. What is that?
They're acupressure boards.
What do I do? You stand on it?
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, so it's either you get...
What? Wait, it's rusted though, is it?
No, it's fine. No, it's because I stand them in the sauna.
Yeah?
So...
All right, okay, sorry.
No.
So, yeah, what, do I have to choose one or can I do them all?
Well, we can do them all. If you want to do them all, okay, we're about to do, on episode 1, we're going to do...
I mean, I hate to be greedy, but
no, we're not being greedy.
Sounds like
is
so much fun.
This is even better. This is even better. We have to do something playful.
That's like walking on fire,
Okay.
right? Like what those people do, like when you're like trying to.
Well, so think acupressure. Think of you apply pressure and you relieve tension, and so this gives you the opportunity to not only.
Can you hold these up for the viewers? These things are crazy looking.
Yes.
Holy crap!
So
dude.
there's about 80 nails in there.
God.
This is not going to pierce your skin. I stand on these pretty much every day. And so these give you the opportunity to there's reflexology in your feet that attach to all of your nerve receptors in your whole body that help.
It will relieve tension.
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably very needed because I'm like this right now.
Yeah.
Like terrified.
And honestly, it's one of those things that you may feel now, you may feel during. Well, you definitely feel during, and you may feel after.
Okay.
And so this also helps you activate your nervous system because all the pain that is actually induced in this actually gives you opportunity to bring in what it's called, like it releases the same pain as what painkillers do. So it pretty much flows throughout your whole body, and then the endorphins hit, and sometimes you get a high feeling. I didn't get that until 2 months in.
This is pleasantly terrifying.
Yeah. So so I guess we're gonna start. My boy said he wants to try it all. But
I want to do the masked chaos.
Masked chaos? Okay. We're going to do, we're going to do is we're going to have the opportunity. I'm going to throw this powder on you.
Yeah.
And then you're going to do a meatspin.com. You asked for it all.
Oh, man.
And then you're going to have to throw this powder on me, and I'm doing meatspin.com.
I don't know how big the radius of my meat spin is going to be.
Yo, he's like, it's about this big. It's about this big. It's about this big. Is this getting all of us?
I've actually never done one before. Like unclothed at least.
We're gonna do it. All right. So actually, what color do you want? What color of the powder do you want, brother? You want brown? You want orange? You want pink?
Let's do this guy.
You want to do this guy?
I like this guy.
Ooh, teal. This is my favorite color, brother.
Yes? Yeah? Oh, right.
Actually, aqua blue. Aqua blue and cream orange. All right, brother. You get to get a little powder action.
Oh my God, you're just gonna throw it on me?
Just gonna fucking throw it on you. All right, brother. I don't know if it's gonna hit your face. I don't think it is, but here it is.
Oh!
Oh shit! And now you gotta hit a little Okay.
Do I get to do one to you?
Yes, you do.
Oh,
yes,
this is great, dude.
Okay, we're gonna get a purple action actually.
Pick your poison.
Pick my poison.
Dang.
Okay.
Where did you get these?
Huh?
Where did you get these powders? These are so cool.
I ordered these online.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a little purple action. So cool.
Hey, can we, after this is all said and done, can we do a chest bump and like have some like color merging action?
We're gonna chest bump color. Is my head in this? Are we fully in this?
Maybe not. Move my stuff a little bit. There we go. We got more room.
Okay. Okay.
Hey yo, man, I look so pretty.
Yes, that's the point. We're fucking tribaled up. Okay. Yeah. Let's fucking do it.
Can I do it?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you ready for
Yeah.
this?
Just fucking ready. Give me. Give me.
Oh no!
No, no, no.
There we
Yes, yes. Meatspin.com.
Hey!
Meatspin. Meatspin. Okay. Okay. That is the mass chaos. That is the mass chaos. All right.
Wow.
Fuck yeah. All right, now.
I thought that I was gonna be able to do like a little like baseball pitch into you, and it all
And
just kind of like
it came right back into your hand.
Yeah.
It came back into your hand. Fuck.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Where's my?
Well, I'd like to give you a pat on the back.
Oh, pat me. Pat me. Thank you.
There you go. Now you got my handprint
Okay.
embedded into your strong.
Yes. Okay. Let's see. See where we can get all of you.
Oh my God, we're actually doing this.
Yes. All right. Brother. Stand right there. Don't stand on it yet. Okay, that's gonna get you. All right. So, do you have an intention right now that you would like to set?
Oh my God. Give me an example.
Well,
What is an intention that you normally bring into this?
well, the intention is gonna be however you want this to flow through. So,
Okay.
example is like, I see this masculinity being solved during my time on these boards. Or you can say, hey, I want to just be here, be present with these boards. Or you can say,
I like that one.
yeah,
The,
whichever
the presence thing.
yeah, want to be present, or you something
Maybe just letting go of some of the tension in my body, you know?
yeah.
Because I feel like I tend to hold a lot of tension in my body just in general.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just helpful for me to like try to just like have a relaxation of the, you know, the body.
Oh yeah. So your intention is maybe just to relax and let go of tension.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
How long do I stand on this?
However long you would like, brother.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm actually terrified.
You want me to hold? Trust me, the first time I was being.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Oh, it's crazy because like the first few seconds didn't feel like that big a deal.
First few seconds is.
But then as like the weight settles in.
Yeah.
Oh man. Do you ever do like a kneeling pose or something like that?
Yeah, sometimes. All right. You got like 10 more seconds. Let's go. All right, you're all good, brother.
All right.
You good?
Ooh, wow. That is
Yeah.
quite an experience.
Yep.
Holy moly. How often do you do that?
I do it pretty much multiple times a week. It used
Wow.
to be like every day, but now it's like multiple times a week. And I do them while I'm also doing breath work in the sauna.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, knocking out multiple birds with a stone there.
And it gives you the opportunity to not only give pain a direction, as well as I think the most important thing is the conversations you have with yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
And or the ones that you just let go. So I think it's definitely brought me to a higher state of consciousness, and also
Yeah.
yeah.
I felt like, I mean, it was only for like 30 seconds, but I felt like that's like, the analog I would make is sort of like a hyperspeed form of meditation. It brings you to like that stance in your mind really, really quickly where your mind is wanting to resist.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like in meditation, I feel like I get that after like maybe 5 or 10 minutes where my mind starts kind of resisting sitting still, the act of sitting still. Whereas with this, there's this like these pain receptors and this like weight that starts sinking into the ground and you're going against the sharp points. And so it's like my mind is like starting to resist after like 10 seconds. And so I just like try to like tell myself to relax, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, seems like very similar to meditation in that way.
It allows you to understand that this is just another experience, and that this is really just a chapter, and it's not the whole story, bro.
Right.
And it just
Right.
it really it's helped me be able to understand within other uncomfortable and painful moments to be able to see and be aware of those things, and that's as simple as that. And just be grateful to walk, bro. Like, I'm just grateful every day. Once I get off these things, I'm like, I mean, you got a little 30 seconds. But yeah, once you get off those things, life is good.
Yeah, I bet.
And then now I'm like, after a minute, I'm like falling asleep on them.
Dude, look how pretty my Under Armour is now. It's like speckled with purple and green.
All
it's
right.
like beautiful.
We just did a fun run. That's exactly what that is.
We're going to be walking back down the trail and people are going to be like, what were those guys doing in there?
Hell yeah, bro. All right.
That was really very, what's the word? I'm blanking a little bit. It's very liberating.
Liberating. That's,
it's very liberating.
Just because you said that, we're going to get into some liberation
here we go.
now. We're going to get into some liberation right now. Okay. This is the start of the Modern Jungle podcast. We're about to get it going. So, speaking of liberation, maybe we should just start there. If you had to define what liberation is, how would you define that? Because I think this is, to start this off, I think the biggest problem, like we talked about at lunch, is that a lot of people don't have the language to speak on certain aspects and directions in their life. And so me being able to define a lot of things when it comes to learning the polyamorous language and the non-monogamous language has been very beneficial for me. And so what would you define liberation as?
Are you talking about sexual liberation, a specific flavor of liberation, or
just regular liberation right now? What would you define liberation as?
Okay, yeah, I'm going to take this in a very maybe unexpected direction.
Yeah.
I would maybe think of liberation as clearing out the unconscious blockages that are there, or the unconscious programming that has been developed over time. So if I could is it okay for me to give an example?
Yeah.
I spent a month once doing 4 hours of writing every day, just stream of consciousness writing for basically a 4-hour period nonstop with a 10-minute break halfway. And part of my intent in doing that was I had this idea that if I just do stream of consciousness writing for, a consistent amount of time, then I'm helping to like clear out some of that unconscious blockage or some of that programming that's been embedded in there that causes us to have these obscure dreams, that cause those things that we hold on to, that we don't realize we're still holding on to. And so for me, liberation kind of feels similar to that in some sense, where you're kind of clearing out those unconscious beliefs that you've created over time, or those unconscious responses that we have to certain things that, when we have emotions come up, and then we have some unconscious dynamics in the way that we relate to others, or these sorts of things. Like, how do we as adults try to very, very consciously work on that unconscious programming that has been built up over time?
Yeah, 100%. I think that was great to understand that it might be conscious blockages that might be coming in and out of your psyche and just out of you in general. And yeah, it's understanding it's just certain restrictions and limitations that are put maybe not even on you, but the story that might be within the space and realm that you're in. And I think it comes down to that liberation, and that definition also comes down to what stigma ultimately is at the end of the day, which of what I'm in the direction of fighting, which is the shame and the conditioning and the rules that are imposed on you that don't align with your truth. Yeah. And that's been the most important thing for me to understand, that there's just simply a negative story that's wrapped around polyamory, wrapped around sexual truth, wrapped around STDs and genital herpes. And I believe that once people get the language of defining these things, that they can then get to the point of not only the conversation started, but then questioning and then finding the answer for themselves. And so that's ultimately why we are here today. And so I had a question that I was really interested to ask you, which, um, just being curious, I know you said that when we were talking, you said that a lot of times when you talk about polyamory, you're actually not met with as much stigma. And we'll get into more of the masculinity conversation later, but I wanted to ask you about that. Do you believe that there's actually a stigma when it comes to polyamory and non-monogamy when talking to other people?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I hold my
Or,
own.
or
I hold my own stigma toward it. You
mm,
know, I have a stigma toward it as well, based on my specific experience that I had in my polyamorous relationship,
mm,
that has informed maybe a bias that I have about it, and the specific approach that I have formed for myself with respect to how I would like to approach it going forward
mm,
has been formulated by my past experience, an experience that, you know, wasn't good for me, and so yeah, I mean, I think also there, you know, so I think it exists. I think it exists both externally and internally, I think is what my answer is.
mm,
I've also had external experiences of that stigma, but, you know, we talked about this previously as well. My external experiences of stigma were more subtle, you know,
mm,
like maybe a subtle comment that somebody makes toward me with respect to, oh, you're still in that relationship with that person, as if they're surprised that a polyamorous relationship can
mm.
even last that long.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that felt a little insulting to me, because it's like, you clearly don't understand, like, you know, that this is still a relationship with somebody who I care about. It's not like just this passing thing.
Mm.
You know, like sometimes I think I get the impression that people feel like polyamory is just like, um, what's the word? Uh, I'm blanking on the, not trend,
This
a fad,
fad.
a
Mm,
fad. And fads are something that is very, very popular and very, very temporary, and then just kind of like disintegrates.
mm,
And it's like, that's absolutely not what polyamory is supposed to be. And yet, I see why that is potentially a stigma in a lot of people's minds, because a lot of the experiences that I have heard and read from other people have been these sort of situations where maybe somebody opened up their marriage, or maybe somebody opened up their relationship with a specific intent of avoiding their relational problems that were coming up in that relationship.
mm,
And so they're looking for another out, or they're looking for a way to try to create some sense of, you know, repair within the scope of their relationship by doing something that is maybe not actually going to be healthy or productive or constructive for that relationship with that person at that time.
mm.
You know, is opening up a reason for, or is trying to fix something within your relationship, is that a good reason for opening up and considering another relational model? Maybe, but also maybe not. And it depends on the people within the scope of that relationship to figure that out together,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes I think people get into polyamory for the wrong reasons, and then that is offloaded onto the other people who become involved, and then it can create this negative, you know, this negative bias around it.
Mm,
I personally don't feel like I was negatively biased toward polyamory on an ideological level, though.
mm,
So, polyamory on an ideological level for me has not been affected by my experience. Because on the ideological level, I believe in things like free love. I believe in things like open sexuality, and breaking down those, you know, that programming and those walls that we've put up around our bodies and around our free expression and around being able to explore our bodies with other people, and with ourselves. And, you know, be able to, you know, like, have relationships with the people who are important to us, and that doesn't necessarily have to be confined to one person,
mm.
you know. So a lot of the ideology, I'm just really interested in the ideology, and that makes me consequently interested in the practice. But how do we formulate our practice such that we are abiding the ideology,
Mm.
you know?
Clarify. You want to clarify stigma?
Yeah, I was just mentioning, kind of would like to clarify what I was referring to as the stigma within myself with respect to, the experience that I had with polyamory thus far. So, I think based on the experience that I had,
Like talking to other people, like kind of. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just curious to how it's been, socially for you, like just in general and for yourself. Yeah.
Oh, so I'm part of a polyamorous community in my locale, and we have monthly get-togethers and sit down where we all talk about polyamory and our experiences and these sorts of things. So it's interesting because we get a lot of different perspectives and viewpoints and people's specific approaches to polyamory and their thoughts and their feelings around it and whatnot. So I do exist in those poly spaces, but I also bring up my own experience and my own impression that I've had with respect to it, which is I think I tend to favor more of a non-hierarchical model, more of an, I think you would say, egalitarian, something where there aren't these ingrained power structures that are there as a result of people being structurally enmeshed with one another, even just emotional enmeshment. I think attachment is obviously a healthy thing, and it's something that is a reason that we like to be in relationships with people, is because we want to feel close to people, and we these sorts of things. Like I think maybe people experience that in different ways, but at least for me, attachment is a natural part of relationships. And yet I've also been I've been in the place and I've been in the shoes of someone who has experienced those power structures at which I was at the disadvantage. Right. And so that doesn't feel good. It's a hard situation to be in when there are these intrinsic power structures built into relationships and they're not in your favor. And so based on my personal experience with that, I feel like walking away from that relationship and looking at it in retrospect, I feel like I have this more, one could say it's an idealized vision, but a vision of something that would feel like similar to relationship anarchy, which in my mind is sort of like breaking down those structures, breaking down the emotional and the structural enmeshment with people, so that we can all come at our relationships on a more even plane with one another. We can have more collaboration with everybody. We don't have to abide one partner or one relationship over another one because of these intrinsic fears around whether our marriage is going to last if we say yes to this other person,
100%.
or fears around how it's going to affect all the other structures that we've put into place with this primary partner A versus this partner B. I think it's easy for us to become caught in these structures, and to then the consequence being there are a lot of fears built up around how do we treat these partners equally if we have a lot of structure built in and we have a lot to lose with this person, but with this person we don't really have anything to lose. And so it's a lot easier to maybe make decisions and to create preferences. And then again, that's kind of this power structure dynamic that I'm talking about that I kind of want to see broken down more in our culture.
Yeah, I think when it comes to, I think we both agree the fact that there's this understanding that people are still trying to go through mononormative ideas and a mononormative direction and trying to practice polyamory while also still having a primary partner and not practicing what we think is liberated love in that direction.
Right.
But the reason I asked the stigma question is because, like you said in the beginning, it hasn't been something that you've really, when it comes to being in front of somebody, it's been a thing where someone's just been like, oh yeah, that's still working, which I think a lot of times and maybe in your situation and being in Austin, people might meet you with the, that's cool, but I wouldn't do that. Or maybe it's my family wouldn't appreciate that. Or maybe it's that's not how I was raised, but I think a lot of times it's something that is actually happens behind closed doors. It's the thing it's the stigma's happening in private. It's happening in family conversations. It's happening in group chats with with friends that are actually not around you. And I think it's not only that, but it's also the stigmas in the institutional messaging, not only in schools, but in a broader scheme of things.
Definitely.
It's in religion. It's in media narratives.
Yeah.
It's in it's just in the background that is ingrained that, yeah, maybe some people at some points in time will be like, oh yeah, what does that mean for you? It seems like curiosity and openness and everything, but and then they'll be like, I don't judge, but a girl will be like, I don't judge, but guess what? Your wife's still getting passed around like gravy on Thanksgiving. You know, it's like, what? You just because you preface with the fact that you don't judge doesn't mean that the stigma is not there, you know? So I think lastly, and I want to hear your thoughts on that, is
I wouldn't even say what, or like if I'd be like, maybe she likes being gravy, you know? Like, I mean, what's wrong with being a little gravy? It's like she's getting a lot of tastes, you know?
Yes.
It's like good for her. Like that's what I try to sometimes combat it with. Is like, you know, this one time, this might be a little personal,
like
but
agreeing one up, yeah.
this one time, you know, my now ex, but
Yeah.
she brought up a situation where like there was like some language. I don't remember if it was like she was talking to a friend or something like that, or she was talking about something related to somebody being like, oh, well, that's like kind of slutty or something like that. And I was like, well, you are a slut. And she was like, oh, like, I feel like if we like meet those sorts of things with like accepting it, like it's okay. Like that's part of the point of polyamory, open love, or like free love, is that like we get to embrace and embody that aspect of ourselves that like gets to put ourselves out there and explore and experience what love means for us. And that can mean like being sexual with multiple people, or like being passed around, so to speak, and like getting to enjoy the different flavors of people that they bring into our relationships and how they taste us. You know, it's like there's nothing wrong with that. And so for somebody to come at it with the negative connotation and to speak it with that tone or that negative connotation, I can kind of respond to it with like, yeah, I do like that.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
and it's like, what are they going to say then? You know, it's like if they're in their world, it's a negative connotation. That's their world that they have to live with, but that's not my world. You know, so
I think the best opportunity is, and putting your ego aside and also understanding what's right for you, is just agreeing one up. And one up, I mean, is like someone calls me dumb, I'll be like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, Bart Simpson's my dad, you know, or Forrest Gump's my brother. And then, or even in the sexual space, it's like, yeah, sure, I'm a slut, or sure, I'm whatever you think that I am, but I know that this connotation for me is free love. It's understanding how love is going to be abundant and go in that direction for us. So I think it's accepting what you know is right for you and running with that.
Yeah, and maybe it's easier for me to say too, because like I'm a white guy with privilege or something like that. Like maybe I don't have to face the stigma of what being called a slut, you know, on an emotional level. Maybe it's not as impactful to me as it would be to a woman or to somebody else who's had to experience that their whole lives, you know? So like maybe it's one of those easier said than done situations. But I hope that in the long term we can maybe like, because I think some of that offense that we feel when we hear those things directed at us is still some of that internalized sexual shame. You know, it's like that's something that I'm supposed to feel ashamed about, and that shame is being triggered by this person saying this negative thing toward me, so I'm going to respond, react, or like you know, have this emotional response. And like the emotional response is understandable, you know, and how do we work with it, and how do we work to develop it so that we can be more accepting of our sexuality, so that, you know, we can start to not challenge the shame, but start to like look at it more closely and understand it.
Yeah, that's one component. Yeah, I do have a question moving forward. Is do you think there's a majority of people that see real life examples of non-monogamy and polyamory? Do you see that? And I wanted to preface because I think it's a direction of if there's no models, there's no models that people see. They don't have the permission to do that. So they'll say, hey, I don't see this happening, so I don't see it probably doesn't work for me. Right. So my question is, do you see, and that's a part of how the stigma comes in as well.
That's a great question.
Yeah, people don't have real live models or direction or structure that they feel like they can fall to. So do you think that that's the case? Yeah. Do you think that there are models that people can follow?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't really immerse myself in pop culture, so to speak. There might be examples in pop culture, but in my direct experience, I would say no. Like, even in my poly community, there are a lot of people in this community that, I don't know if you've heard this term before, but polysaturated at one.
Polysaturated, yeah. Huh?
Polysaturated at one.
At one?
Meaning they ascribe to polyamory, but they are saturated at one partner. Meaning one partner is like their limit.
Oh, no, I haven't.
At least in that moment in time.
Polysaturated at one. That's interesting.
Yeah, and so I find it interesting because even in the poly community, it can sometimes be hard to find examples of people who are practicing poly with multiple partners. They still ascribe to the identity and the ideology, but in actual practice, they still are saturated at one partner, meaning they still, like, one partner is enough and or is their limit at that moment in time. It's not to say they're not poly, obviously, and it's also not to say that they might not, take on, they might not have a change in lifestyle and in capacity at a different point in their life. But I find it interesting because, as you're saying, with this mononormative sort of, in the poly community, there are still signs of practicing more of these mononormative structures. That's another example of, that sort of trend that I'm seeing, which is that even in the poly community, I don't feel like I necessarily have examples of people who are showing me what different poly structures look like, because a lot of them are just this polysaturated at one situation.
So do you think people at that point, because I agree too, I think it goes down the direction that people really, well, the question I want to ask is that do people want to would people rather pave a road themselves, or would they rather go down a road that's paved? Because I think it's people in these social, like we talked about at lunch, the people in these fucking social echo chambers of, well, no one else is doing it around me, so I'm not either, and I believe that people don't want to pave their own road, because guess what? Then they're going to have to take full responsibility of that.
Well, that's why we have people like you, Jay. Pave the road for us.
Yes, we're paving it.
Show us the way.
We're paving it. We're walking together. We're paving it together. And so I think people would rather go after a structure or a paved road that's maybe not going to lead to results that they want, because they're not going to have to take responsibility of it. But with this polyamorous route, or this non-monogamous route, this nudist route, people have the opportunity. There's no safety net, there's no safety bubble, there's no backup plan, but you get the full opportunity to take full responsibility, and that's what the freedom is. But guess what? It falls all on you, but you have to create it. There's not a lot of structure. There's not a lot of...
I was going to say it's a bigger responsibility in some ways, because you have to create that path yourself. And that can be a huge, huge task. And it can be more uncertain and more scary because it's totally unknown and totally new. And everybody, another interesting thing about poly is that, sometimes you hear this, every poly relationship is different. Every poly relationship looks different structurally. In terms of its dynamics and whatnot, because, it's kind of like the snowflakes, so to speak, of relationships.
Interesting, snowflakes.
Everyone is different. And so that increases the burden exponentially on the people practicing it, because, even if you do have a model, so to speak, with other people practicing poly, it's not going to ever look exactly the same as your specific molly with your specific people. And so you still, in some sense, have to pave your own road, regardless of what road other people are paving.
I think and I believe that there should be like a foundation and a structure of an example to a direction that people can go in and then create it themselves. This is at 30 minutes. It just needs to be hit again. All right, it'll start recording. Cool. But yeah, I think there should be a foundation and a structure for people to go into and see to, and then create it themselves. I think
Right.
that's very important. I think that's not the case right now of what we have, and so that's what creates, I think, even more the stigma. People don't have something that's mapped out, that's in front of them, and people are too scared. They don't want to go into the unknown, or uncomfortable to find the truth. Oh yeah, it's coming out. It's still on. All right.
Oh, sneak. Try to pin this guy down again.
Yeah. There it is. Bang. Bang.
All right, we're good.
We're just gangsta. We're doing it.
We're just totally improvising here out in the woods.
We're out in the woods of the cut. And so, yeah, I think that's the case. A lot of people, when it comes to the uncomfortable, the unknown, they don't want to find the truth through that. They will rather, which we all know, probably through the comfortable and the known, you're probably not going to find that, because that's the easily mapped out direction. So another question I wanted to have for you is something that I've thought about is, do people have, the way people think, do they have a binary way of thinking? Like,
what do you mean?
Do they have a way of thinking, like, if something's good or bad or right, it's either good or bad, or it's right or wrong, or it's loyal or disloyal. So, and my direction is to say that a lot of people is like, it's either monogamy or it doesn't make sense. Like, I feel like a lot of people have a binary way of thinking, instead of understanding that there could be a way you can pivot and go in a different direction that could be abundant for you. So do you think people have like a binary way of thinking instead of a binary they could maybe expand and the way they're thinking, or maybe like instead of fixed mindset over a growth mindset? Which mindset do you think that they have, binary?
I don't know. I get the impression that it's maybe more a matter of ignorance. Maybe people just don't know that there are other options. Even my ex sometimes said the same thing. Before, she didn't know about poly, and then she discovered this world, and it was like, whoa, this, and then things clicked in her mind, and it felt like, this is my identity. This is who I've always been, but I didn't know it existed. And it's interesting because I've talked to other people who have had the same experience. When I told them about poly, they were like, wow, that's really interesting. I didn't know that even existed, and now I'm interested. It's like, like maybe it's more a question of people feel like it's monogamy or nothing because they don't realize that there's something else.
I agree. I can't, because I remember going to Temptation. Temptation is a topless adult-only resort where I worked for 2 years, playmaker, and it's mainly swinger and open relationship. And I don't even, it's one of those things that you just kind of hear in passing, and you kind of hear that's around, but you're like, oh no, that's not a thing, until you engulf yourself in the experience and or ask more questions to get more answers. That's all I'm here to do. That's all we're here to do. We're not here to convert you. We're not here to change your fucking mind. We're not here to do any of that. We're here to simply get the conversation started and to get you to ask the question, to maybe that this may be a truth for you, just like he's saying that she didn't even know that this is a part of her identity and being her identity.
I'm just here to get naked.
Yeah, I really am. Really here to get naked. That's all. We're here in the cut of Austin just to get naked. And so, now you're speaking on identity. I'm really curious about this. So
that's called comic relief.
Cue card. Do you think people want to be associated with this? Because do you think that people are in a space of trying to protect their identity or the reputation with this?
I think you have to have
because of the stigma. Yeah.
How would I put this in words? I think you have to not care about what other people think about you.
So your identity reputation is on the line if you do come open about non-monogamy or polyamory.
I think so, just by virtue of living in a world that is majority mononormative. It's the same thing with anything, I think. I mean, I'm vegan, and I have to face, I can't tell you how many times where I've been like negatively looked at or negatively portrayed or negatively behaved against because somebody found out that I was vegan without even knowing me. So I think in anything where there is some intrinsic stigma built around something and it is not, a majority mononormative lifestyle, there are going to be situations in which people are going to negatively judge you and maybe treat you differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, can you embrace your identity despite those things?
Yeah.
Can you live by your values despite those things? Can you bear the responsibility?
Yeah.
And live with your truth. Live your truth. Isn't that what you say? Live your truth?
Yeah. Own your story and speak your truth. Sure.
What are your thoughts? I'm interested because...
Well, first off, I think a lot of people, if they're already monogamous, they don't want to start a whole new foundation. They don't want to have to start all the way. They built this big building, right? And then they realize, oh shit, there's holes in it. It's a hollow. Oh shit, the foundation's hollow. Oh, that's the building I should be on. Or that's the building that aligns with my morals, values, and beliefs that I could build. But I have to break this shit all the way back down. Maybe go all the way over there to figure out what this really is, and then find the building that's right for me, the building person, direction, find the person. Maybe the building is you tearing down your marriage or relationship. And then go over there to be like, oh, this is a massive community of buildings that's what I want. But I have to break all this shit down, and everyone else around me has to see it.
Right.
All my friends, all my coworkers, and not only my friends, coworkers, family, but and then future dating prospects. Who's gonna fucking love me out of that? Oh, that's a small dating pool. No, the world's not gonna love that. So guess what? My identity is now completely changed, and I have to build it from the bottom and build a new language around it. And then on top of that, I have to make my reputation clear when I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing. So I think people don't want to sacrifice their identity. They don't want to sacrifice their reputation, and I think. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest problems. They don't want to start from the beginning, and that's really uncomfortable.
I'm gonna get deep here.
Oh, please get deep as possible.
Do you think that's maybe part of the motivation for the universe bringing you and me together?
Yeah.
No joke. Because like I'm thinking about it, and I'm thinking, if you have to stand on your 2 feet in a new world where you can't necessarily lean into your old relationship ideologies, then you need to lean more into your other types of connections. Mm-hmm. And so, for instance, for you and me to have met and then to have like established a friendship, that is something that's in a sense healing and helping to create some, I wouldn't call it structure, but it's helping us to, I don't know, like stand on our 2 feet, so to speak, with our ideologies, because in spite of whatever our other relationships might look like, we've still found some sort of cohesion between the two of us that has established some positive feeling that reinforces our existence in this new lifestyle and in this world.
No, it 100% does, and it makes, I 100% think that it's all alignment, that the inner spirit of my vibration has aligned with the outer frequency of this thing that I don't know, to then create resonance of love between us. Yes, I do believe that, but I think it proves to me that even my relationship and the way you speak and the way you are and you being out here with me, and even he's the one that pushed in the direction of like, let's do this. Because I'm on the frame of like, who's gonna come out in the middle of the fucking forest to get naked with 2 bros wearing ski masks and then fight the stigma of the polyamorous world, while also liberating it and also trying to figure out to educate it at some point, and then hopefully find a space to entertain it and then create a polyamorous community company. Who's gonna do that shit?
Well, I guess my point is that this is maybe part of polyamory, like what we're doing right here is establishing bonds with people outside of the scope of romance, because if you can deepen bonds with people outside of the scope of romance, then you can find yourself not becoming so dependent on what would normally be the traditional mentality around relationships, which is to fall into a marriage and become confined, so to speak, to that, and make that be your sort of like that life goal or that life dependency with having the marriage and having the kids and having the structure and having all of this traditional path, which, I'm not to say that that's a wrong thing if that's what somebody wants, but if somebody does want to exist in a polyamorous world and in a polyamorous identity, it might mean
having to put yourself out there with people in new ways, in platonic ways, but deepening those platonic friendships and deepening those connections that you have with people in other ways than just like focusing purely on sex and romance.
Hell yeah. And that's something I wanted to touch on, because I was thinking in my head, if I'm idealizing the opportunity to have 15 to 40 people be in a community covenant, that I don't believe in marrying one person. I believe in marrying into a community that's non-hierarchical. Not all of us probably are going to be romantic and sexual. Some of those relationships may not even be focused on sex. Some of those may be focused on creating a social container for someone, or creating a space for you to co-parent, and also just building the opportunity to have the depth. And what I believe has the best opportunity for depth and expansion. The person that brings love and spirit and a chosen family, and community. It doesn't, and without it needing to be something sexual, that is a friend base that isn't maybe blood related. So yeah, no, this is a polyamorous dynamic, even if it isn't something sexual, because it's bringing more love into a space that we're trying to build on. And bro, I'm not gonna lie, even me being here with you, I was like, I'm supposed to go do this Fight the Stigma tour, but I'm like, having this connection with you, and then the connections that we're making. We're about to go to this like nudist, it's what is it? What are we gonna call it? Nudist gay, I guess, or nudist fluid party.
Just call it a nude event.
Yeah, nude event. Yeah, just a nude event. But we're about to go to this nude event and together, and then you've also linked me to other polyamorous directions, and we're doing this podcast together. And I'm like, I'm like, I wanted to define a place that I can build roots and have people that have like-minded ideas and directions that want to do shit like this. And so this is definitely a direction that I see could be the case.
It would be interesting, this is a radical idea, but I would be so interested in seeing this evolve into a hetero naked thing.
Hetero naked thing.
Yeah, no, and I'm actually serious, because I think ingrained in our culture, and probably in me personally as well, is this contention around like, when I'm naked with a woman, there might be some like sexual tension there or something like that. But it would be so interesting to explore a naked space in a hetero setting that has a platonic flavor to it, where I get to know somebody of a different sex in a platonic way, the way you and I are connecting right now, but like in a naked and vulnerable space with a woman, because like in our culture, there's just like this immediate, like, I think there's a lot of obvious, for valid and just reasons, like on a woman's side, there can be some defensiveness and some like guardedness around like what that might engender or encompass, like the male-female dynamic can create these sort of intrinsic like fears of power differentials and these things. And oh my God, like, I can see how it can become emotional, but like the way that we're getting to interact right now and feel so comfortable, and like I feel like the nakedness is part of that, being able to just like strip away the layers and get to know each other and talk to each other in a very, very natural state on a way that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to. Like, I would be so curious to be able to enter that space in the same way with a woman, where it's like, doesn't have to be sexual, but it can just be like us connecting on a very visceral platonic plane.
100%. Sorry, brother. The fucking... This battery's low. Alright, well, that's that for that right now. But we're gonna just stick with that. But no, I definitely think that could be the case, and maybe it's a direction that we could create together. And I don't know. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. And I think that's how a lot of nudist places are anyways. Like a lot of nudist environments and a lot of naturalist environments are like that. They go in and they just realize, I'm just here to be seen. I'm here to let myself just be within what's natural to me and what's neutral, and what's human, and move accordingly. I mean, I think you mean more in like an intimate one-on-one direction that can just be
getting to connect with somebody.
Yeah. That maybe isn't in like a communal direction. But taking off I think that's what we talked about, is the clothes is what sexualizes things more than nudity ever did. And so I guess that could be. I want to go in that direction, but I want to touch on, because I think we're going to touch on go in a direction of what masculinity really
Sure.
means. 'Cause I want to touch in the nudity direction, but maybe we can find more time to do that another time. But
Yeah, sure.
because I don't know how much
It's
space
your
we
show,
have.
mate.
Yeah. But I know masculinity has been a big thing for you, of trying to figure out how am I a masculine man, and what these roles mean to me in this world, and
Yeah.
and it's really the idea of what both of us think is that masculinity is an energy. It's not a rule. It's not even a role that you need to play. It's a direction that possibly you go in with what aligns best with your truth, and also the universal truth. So right now the gender role right now is what's your provider, your protector. You're the stoic, dominant, emotionally still individual, and you're about possessiveness and the relationship, and so what would you define as masculinity at this point? Because I know that's a question that you're trying to answer. Maybe we can find that during this. Yeah. What can you define? Or maybe there's a different question that we can go in a different direction. Or
My question is why do we feel the need to define what these things are? For me, I don't know the answer to it, and the question that comes in my mind is what I just asked, which is like, why is there a need for our cultures to define masculinity and femininity? Like, why do we even introduce these labels in the first place, if not to like project our expectations of what somebody else should be onto them? Like when we talk about masculinity, it seems to be kind of loaded with this like cultural bias. Like, I think about in dating, it's like somebody might say, I'm looking for somebody more masculine or somebody more feminine or something like that. But what does that even mean? Like, if we're going to have an understanding of communication around these things, then these terms would have to be universal. They would have to be objectively universal. It would have to mean something more specific or not specific, something more like, like something that isn't embodied by that term. And I guess I would just kind of challenge that, because I feel like I embody a lot of different aspects of things, like traditional masculinity, I think, can be more challenging for me to embrace than femininity, or like what I would consider as natural femininity, like in terms of my body type, in terms of an aesthetic to things. When I perform physically, athletically, I'm thinking more about the aesthetic than the power, so like that has sort of like a masculine versus a feminine energy that I associate with. At least is masculine is like the more powerful, the more like explosive energy, the more aggressiveness, whereas feminine energy is more balanced, more light, more graceful, more beautiful, moves more fluidly. And that is something that I more identify with and aspire to when I'm climbing. And ironically enough, because I more naturally gravitate to that, it means that I have to proactively get myself to train the more masculine aspects as well. Because in order to do a powerful move, you have to have the power sometimes. And so, I find myself wanting to embrace both. But I think the traditional masculinity, or just masculinity in terms of its equation to power and dominance, I have more of a knee-jerk reaction to and a gut aversion to, because like I don't like the way that carries out in the larger world in terms of masculine dominance in political roles, in terms of political agendas, in terms of the way our culture and our society has been formed by the male agenda, and this like dominant architecture and the dominant archetype and all of this stuff. Like I think power structures as a whole, I've always felt uncomfortable with. And I think that ties back to a sexual abuse I had as a kid, where there was a power structure that basically led to my being abused. And so I think I naturally just have a repulsion to any form of anything that suggests some sort of power structure, especially one in which there is a dominating force, because that hurt me as a child. And so if I can resist that, if I can push that away, if I can identify as anything else except that, then those are the things that I naturally lean toward. Which means, I have to proactively work on accepting maybe parts of myself that might naturally be masculine. And I don't really know what that means, though.
Appreciate you sharing that, brother. That's cool. That's interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of our past dictates a lot of where we're at now. And I think I can see within the conversations we've had, within you understanding the power dynamics within just like big businesses and money power dynamics. I think a lot of that might have something to do with that. So that's interesting within this masculine feminine paradigm of like trying to figure out, is this like a universal rule, or is this understanding of like a foundation of a direction, like a uniformed identity, and maybe there's like a shared foundation that we can find that maybe can be the case.
What do you think, what is masculinity to you?
Masculinity to me, I've had to get away from what the traditional like gender roles are. And so for me, like I said, I'm more going in a direction that masculinity is more in a shared foundation, and then you can not have a more percentage of masculinity, of like, oh, I'm 90% masculine and you're 10% and 10% feminine. I think it more comes down to like you being responsible, you having integrity, you having boundaries, you having an emotional awareness about you, and more having qualities that align best with you and then how you can bring yourself into this world. And so I don't think it's this rigid script. I think we understand that we can be a little bit maybe more nurturing and soft, and also possibly be powerful as well, but it doesn't have to fit within the dynamics of the roles that are set in upon us right now. So
let me ping pong off of that.
yeah.
So the qualities that you mentioned, you mentioned integrity and boundary setting and these sorts of things. To me, it brought up the question of like this question of gender.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of those qualities you named are gender neutral, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, they don't necessarily embody masculinity or femininity. They're just qualities that we value.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, like when we're typically referring to masculinity and femininity, they seem to have this ingrained sort of relationship with gender. And so then my question is like, what is then again, like what's the relevance of, like, I don't know, what's the relevance of gender maybe? Like,
right, maybe I should get more.
I don't know. I maybe I'm overthinking this, but I really do have the question of like, why do we lean so heavily into trying to define ourselves by our gender roles or by these specific attributes that have a specific tie back into gender? Like, why does it matter? Because like the values that I hold tend to be, I think, more like gender neutral qualities. I mean, like maybe that's not necessarily true, because like I do value aesthetic movement, for instance, over powerful movement. So like one could argue that that is more feminine, so to speak. But like, does it matter?
Yeah. And that's why the thing, when I mentioned those directions, it is gender neutral. It doesn't feel like it's masculine or feminine, because I think we need to get away from that. I think it needs to go in a direction of not about control, but how am I contributing to a space? Because over not trying to dominate a space, but what can I bring to it? What can I build? How can I be within this? And maybe it's a direction of maybe how do I choose meaning and find something that lights me up that pisses me off, but also makes me alive. Like that's what my masculinity is defined as. Maybe me finding a brotherhood that I'm really connected to, and I guess these aren't traits that I embody, and it's something that I'm trying to.
Oh, interesting. It sounds like what you're saying is masculinity. The way you identify with masculinity is tied to the way you interact with other men in some way.
And myself.
And that would make a lot of sense, because I do identify as a man.
Yeah.
You know? And so I really like that statement, because that causes me to think like maybe I can also identify with masculinity in the way of specifically how I relate to other men. Because in other aspects of my life, it is more gender neutral. It's like I want to live with integrity too. I want to build, a life for myself that's defined by a lot of my other values that are gender neutral, in terms of like, having my feet in the world, trying to like take a job that feels meaningful to me, and not just like, taking a job for the sake of money or some other reason, but like doing something that's truly meaningful to me, helping people in the role that I take in the world, being more of a social agent, being more of a sociable person with people, establishing connections with people, being in the world in real time, having real time connections with people. Like all of these things are really important to me, and they have nothing to do with gender. And so like such a big part of my life, and a big part of like all of the things that are orbital in my life, are gender neutral things, which maybe is why I largely like question the question of masculinity and femininity. But at the same time, like, I think that's such an interesting point, because an aspect of my life that I do want to develop is my connections with other men specifically. And so maybe my masculinity can be defined by that intent, and that goal is like, how do I holistically interact with other men in a healthy way, and establish those healthy relationships.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I guess because I honestly, before meeting you, it hasn't been something I've thought about, because maybe I've more embodied the masculine direction already with the lifestyle I live and the person I'm, and just physically, I'm 6'2", I'm already 6'2", 210 pounds. I work out, take care of myself. I'm already in this space of masculine presenting, doing hard shit to make every day life grateful. And
you're talking about like in terms of your lifestyle and the hard shit. Are you talking about like the manual labor sort of stuff?
Yeah, well, manual labor. I mean, working on the boats, cruise ships. I guess you could say that's masculine, but I'm a server and and a housekeeper and shit. So that's not as masculine. But I mean, I just think in the direction of the way the things that I do when it comes to I work out consistently. I cardio. I stand on fucking nails, and like it's like, is this the masculine paradigm? And I'm already, my physical being of structure, the way I express, I think are just already a lot of masculine things. So this isn't something I've thought about as much until my conversation with you. And so it's just making me understand that this, like, trying to question it and find the answers myself too, within this direction. So.
It's hard. I find it a very hard question, because even like the physical toughness, for instance, like standing on nails, like why does that specifically have to tie back to masculinity?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. Yeah.
It's a hard question, because there is some intrinsic, like, I don't know, societal definition around toughness. Grit and toughness being somehow specific to like the male archetype.
Yeah. How do you think masculinity ties back into polyamory, with some of the things, the way it can maybe break polyamory down, of maybe the rigid script of like masculinity, of being the sole provider and being the emotional suppressor and the dominant authority. I think that's taken away with polyamory. I don't think you get to kind of define your own archetype in polyamory. And it's also, I think polyamory also takes away like the kind of the dependency model of things, of like, oh, I need to do everything for you, and it's like, no, I get to choose you every day. So I think there are certain frameworks within masculinity that, or within polyamory, that masculinity can also be shaped by, that can make it more, less you stay at home and you do the fucking dishes and I'm going out to work, because I want to add on to that, and then I'll ask you the question, is I think a lot of the masculine roles were back in the 1950s when we did have clear gender role, like strict and rigid gender roles, I thought, and underpriced housing and lifelong jobs. And so this kind of shaped that, okay, this made sense for men to go into the workforce and then the women stay home. But now none of those exist.
Right.
We've redefined all of that now.
Right.
So what's the definition for that now, and how do you think polyamory can help shape and is shaping masculinity to maybe make it more neutral?
Short answer, I have no idea. So this was actually a question I was struggling with leading up to this podcast interview.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually asking myself, like, I identify a lot with masculinity stigma, and I know that there's some intersectionality there with how it informs polyamory and the polyamorous world and framework, but I don't know what that intersectionality is. And I think part of it for me is that maybe we're each, maybe we experience, these questions of masculinity in different ways, and maybe we each have our own individual identification and approach around masculinity, and I just maybe haven't answered that question fully for myself with, like, what does it mean to me and what does it look like for me? And maybe the best answer I can give then is something I said earlier, which is, if I'm developing my relationships with men in healthy and positive ways, the way that we are right now, if I allow myself to open up and be vulnerable and find those other men in my life who I can form platonic relationships with and, like, feel those bonds, then it helps me to neutralize those dependencies for other relationships that I would normally lean into and rely on in the mononormative culture. So, like, embracing my masculinity in the way of having authentic connection with other men allows me to kind of, like, release the stronghold, the strong grip that I have, or this dependency that I might otherwise form on romantic relationships, so that I can be more free in those romantic relationships, so that there's not a bottleneck, so that I can, exist in those in ways that are more healthy and, maybe in terms of, like, jealousy, possessiveness, these sorts of things. If our cup is filled in other ways and in other aspects of our life, then maybe, that helps us to combat those difficult feelings that come up in the polyamorous world, like having to deal with feelings of jealousy, insecurity, possessiveness, these things that kind of, like, get at us when we have to deal with this contention against the mononormative programming of, this person is going out and seeing somebody else, therefore there's something wrong here. Well, when we have a life established, when we have our cup filled by other relationships, maybe that insecurity is something that we can, more readily work with to help sustain those relationships with those people that we love, and to create those connections that are, like, wholesome, egalitarian. We can show up as a better partner for the people that we love.
Yeah, I think it definitely could create more of a balanced view on how we feel about ourselves, rather than it needing to, I need to be this or this. Like, you can just naturally flow into it because you have multiple different role models, multiple different role model men that you'll be around to also practice polyamory with.
Right.
But also women as well, not needing to fall into a certain role or direction. So, yeah, I think going practically, what we can say and how we can probably build on this masculinity direction is just maybe make it more simple. Maybe just have yourself a personal code that's right for you, and cultivate, like, a certain level of, like, emotional fluency And yeah, like you said, go towards having a brotherhood and try to have some sort of mission that's bigger than yourself. And I know these are a lot of actions than traits, because I think a lot of times we try to put towards traits of roles that you have, but I think these are things that you can do that are masculine, and serve daily and whatever that means to you. And I think that those things can be very masculine roles. And you say that, and maybe people can say feminine features and feminine can do that too. I guess so, but I think just trying to redefine them in a more neutral direction that is also still framing that we want to build and grow in something, I think is important. Yeah.
Just get naked.
Yeah, just get fucking naked with your bro. How about you? The most masculine thing you can do is get naked with your motherfucking brother in the jungle somewhere, in the modern jungle somewhere.
Let's go.
And make this shit happen. Like, this might be the most masculine shit to do.
And don't forget to throw colored powder on each other and do a couple of, what do you call them?
Meat spins.
A couple of meat spins.
Oh,
I'm a
God.
first timer meat spinner here.
First time meat spinner. Oh my God.
Never
so
done
great.
that before. I was a little embarrassed, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, man, this is a little too masculine for me. I don't know if I can do it. I did it, and while I was doing it, I was like a little ashamed. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this.
I had to add an extra component that was just gonna bring a
Like,
little
really,
sacred play.
like, yeah.
A little sacred play with the two
Brought
boys.
me out of my comfort zone. I'm okay with getting naked because, like, to me, naked doesn't have like a predefined script of masculine or feminine.
Yeah.
But the meat spin definitely does.
that was just it necessary for this. I looked at it as more as a sacred play component of what you would do if you were naked.
It is play with the body.
Yeah,
I do have a
play with the
penis.
bottle, and also just start it off to get the juices flowing. You know, throw some powder on each other and just fucking stand on some nails.
Oh, my juices are flowing.
That's my boy. Well, okay, we're gonna dive into the topic of nudity. We're gonna dive into the topic of nudity, seeing that we have desexualizing the body, normalizing nudity, and then we're gonna hold off on talking about bringing spirit back into non-monogamy and also STDs within destigmatizing STDs and genital herpes, seeing that your boy has it right here, Baby Yoda, and also the polyamorous community covenant direction, because I think that's all those are more loaded. But yeah, let's talk about normalizing nudity and desexualizing the body.
Sure.
Yeah, and then we'll dip out and fucking vibe out. So,
I'm not gonna lie, it will be a little comforting for me to get some clothes back on.
Yeah.
Like, this has felt very comfortable, and I'm like, there's this weird thing coming up in me where I'm like, after a certain amount of time, I guess I start feeling a little antsy.
Oh, it's the antsy.
I don't know what
this
that's
is the
about.
antsy. This is the what? You talking about, like, just in general?
It's
when
like
you're naked?
the standing on nails part, but like
Yeah.
with the nudity.
Really?
Like, I'm starting to feel a little bit of that weight.
Oh, really? I settle in. I settle in more.
Interesting.
Oh, maybe is it?
I settled in the very beginning, and now I'm like,
Is it because of the environment of where we're at, or is it just
not
in general?
really. I don't know. It's just like I don't know.
Okay. Have you been to some nudist? Have you been to nudist communities or nudist?
I just go to this event,
This event?
weekly event, and I usually stay for maybe 2 hours.
Oh, so okay. So it's not a
Yeah.
long. So like usually around 2 hours is like.
I mean, for me, people can stay longer, but
Okay.
I don't know. Sometimes I get really comfortable and also I think it's because maybe it's because this is a public, that's in kind of like a protected private quarters,
private,
and we're engaged in something the whole time, so it's like there's like some level of some like distraction mechanic there maybe.
Yeah.
But
this is more.
no,
like,
I'm still good. Like, don't worry about me.
good.
I definitely notice a little bit of that. Like, I don't know, maybe I still somehow have some of that, like, there's some, like, weird emotional comfort around clothes or something.
Okay. Well, the point of that is what we're saying is that this is not a safe space. All right. That's exactly what he's saying. And that's what I'm saying right now. This is a courageous space. All right. This is the time you feel a little fear, you feel a little antsy, you feel a little zing, and then you kind of move through that. You move through that and you embrace it and you understand that it's just the aliveness that's bringing you into what we call the modern jungle. this is what we're here to do. We're here to be the modern jungle and push a little past a little bit of the zing. And it won't be too much longer, but I appreciate you, brother, for saying that. I more settle in. I settle in, bro. Like when I'm naked, I'm like, I feel more and more free. It's like an expansion. It's just like like I feel myself just like, this is the way I'm supposed to be and live and be and vibe, because I'm like, finally I can sit and talk and just be seen fully and see myself fully, and that's what this is about. That's what this is about, is understanding this poster. We're actually going to do that later. We're going to do a little smash the stigma action, but being able to be seen not only with yourself, but by the world and also by a higher power is what I believe nudity and desexualizing the body is about. It's not about me getting naked and to see how fucking large your fucking cock is, or how much how your body physically looks into a space. It's just being able to allow yourself to flow freely. So I do have one question, multiple questions. What do you think is what does society think most about the naked body? What do you think that is? What do you think society and the world thinks about the naked body? Do you think it's something?
I don't know. There must be some embarrassment or shame around it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if we're taught that from a young age. Like, there's this like protective privacy around the private parts,
Mm-hmm.
which in some regard makes sense, right? Because I don't know, there is a sensitivity to and like a maturity to sexuality. Like as a kid, you don't really have a well-formed sense of sexuality, and also it wouldn't be socially appropriate to engage in sexual behavior as a kid, just from a societal standpoint, so and also, going to the bathroom and these sorts of things, again, there are some social constructs around that being in a private space. When I go to the bathroom, there's a sense of privacy to that. There's a closed door usually. There's, some protectiveness around that. And so this direct link between my genitals and privacy. And so that's something to maybe like keep sacred, or something to like protect, or something to like, maybe hide. So I wonder if there's some sort of like social programming around nudity or private parts and like shame or embarrassment, protectiveness, something. I don't know.
I think. And there's multiple examples. Maybe it would be good to bring up some examples of what I've seen, like more internationally in general, where we're at now. But I think I personally believe when you're naked, there's less novelty around that, so that brings the opportunity for there to be less. I guess you could say, like less obsession.
Okay.
Around it. And then if you pair it with education in the very beginning when you're a kid, I think then we can get to a point of just like healthy integration. And so I think that if we just allowed people to be naked in the beginning and we paired it with healthy education, I think it would bring this healthy integration, because you see it. So there's some studies that I looked at. Like Finland, they have like something like 3 million saunas or something like that, and there's like 5 million people there. Actually, I have 3.3 million saunas for a population, 5.5 million people, and the culture in general just accepts nudity, and it brings the education in very early, and it's like top of the world, of like top 5 happiest places in the world.
I would say the sauna example specifically, though, I get the idea that a sauna is still a closed off space where it could feel like a safe space for people and a protected space.
Oh, interesting.
So like in public, walking down the street, walking in a city, like being in school, all of these other very, very raw public places, being in the corporate workplace, all of this stuff. Like, yes, I could see a world in which, like, if people started off being nude all the time, then there wouldn't be some sort of, like, distraction or, like, some sort of, like, feelings around it. But also, I feel like maybe even in the most radically nude accepting places, it's still practiced in containers, as opposed to in the general public where people are like walking around on the street and on bicycles and like taking the public transit and everybody's naked, you know? When I come at it from my approach of this like sort of like protectiveness, I think about that picture of like, why is it that we don't walk around on the street naked? Why don't we take public transit naked? Why don't we go to school naked? Why don't we go into our corporate jobs naked or whatever kind of job we have? Like, and the natural response I feel like I have is this idea of like, for some reason, society has created this, I don't know if I'd say boundaries, but like sort of like some like we want to be able to engage in these private ways, so to speak. I mean, we even call them private parts, you know? That's kind of interesting to me, is like even the terminology suggests that there's something about genitals and about the body that should have some level of privacy to it. So like if we create safe spaces where we can open ourselves up in this way, then that's in integrity and alignment with that statistic that you gave. But I wonder, like, what is then the next step? Like, how does this become integrated on a wider scale of like public nudity? Is that realistic? Is that ever going to happen? And if so, like, what is the reason? Like, what is going on there with this? Is there some natural connection between our genitals and this core human necessity to feel a sense of protectiveness about our genitals or like our privacy around them? Is there some intrinsic boundary setting there that we have? Or maybe people have different degrees of it. Maybe some people are very, very open about their genitals and like what they do with them and like how they, you know, like maybe some people don't have a lot of necessity of privacy with respect to that, and they can act more freely with it. And maybe other people are just very, very like, this is my sacred space. I only, you know, even when it ties back to sex, I think about sex and like how some people treat sex as a very sacred thing that they only save for select few people or whatever, or one person. And so it's very, very contained and protected. And so, yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so like in a month, I'm going to do another Naked 5K, and it's a nudist community that is 30 minutes north of Tampa, which is called Caliente.
Okay.
And so it's like 50 houses, maybe 60. And kids are naked, families are naked, people are just naked in the pool area.
Cool.
And so they are contained in that safe space, but where that's the point you're getting at. But where do we get to a point of where it can be for the public to see? And I don't know if that's
make the safe space universal, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think that's what places like Sweden and Netherlands do with the not only the sauna direction, but they like there's still select safe spaces, I understand, but they're more accepting on like nude beaches and wellness events and things to be naked in. So I don't think I don't know when we're gonna get there or what that'll mean, but I think it's just coming down to because there are just laws. There's laws that come around to the fact of us not being able to do that. So I mean, it's still gonna need with the direction, you're still gonna need to create certain communities that's the case. But and then as being able to do more things like this, like creating a podcast where two dudes are naked, just talking, just like starting the conversation, I think can help in little incremental ways. And
are you interested in maybe potentially exploring how in the US we could create more spaces that create containers for nudity?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I would love that. I would love to brainstorm ideas. We could even start that in I mean, you're already doing it. You already got a few spaces of people that is the case. But yeah, I honestly, the direction that I want to go in is, and we'll get into the Polyamory Community Covenant direction, but I want to create a cafe. It's going to call the Jungle Library, a cafe that during the day gives out smoothies, and and I call it the Jungle Library because you can give out a Jungle Library card to other people and then connect with them, and that will be fully naked during the day. It's like a coffee shop, and then at night, boom. Also, it's called the Jungle Fever, and it's a club at night. So then people can come in from the outside. So that's just that's future idea. That's idealistic. That's in the direction, but
I want it now.
I want it now.
Don't you all want it now?
Cafe during the day.
Don't we
Jungle
all
fever,
want this right now?
Fever at night, baby. It's your boy Jungle Night. Yeah, no.
So if y'all like what my boy Jungle J is hearing right now, feel free to donate to the cause. Let's all invest in this idea.
You know, bro,
and get this going.
I thought of the idea of just going around with the sign saying, making a GoFundMe and saying, donate. Would you donate $1 million to a polyamorous community covenant, and seeing how people will respond to that? How do you think that would go? I thought that's one of the ideas that I thought about doing.
I wonder, now that I think about it, I wonder if the way to go with promoting polyamory is just not to mention polyamory, is like espouse this idea of having a naked jungle. What did you call it? The Jungle Cafe?
Yeah.
Having a naked jungle, and let people choose to come into this space who are open about exploring their bodies and exploring, what this connection means to them. And I think maybe naturally people will then discover and explore polyamory for themselves just by virtue of that connection to nakedness.
I would love for that to be the case, but just like a week ago I went to this event, and it was also Naked 5K, but it was this community I went to. There's an association called the American Association Nude Recreation. It's like AANR.
Okay.
I forgot what it's. I'm missing a letter, but instantly when I got there in this space, I told him my direction. I was with the president and also the receptionist, and I said, I had my cape, and I said, I'm in the process of desexualizing nudity and normalizing the body and liberating the polyamorous world. And he instantly was like, this isn't a place for that. And I was like, what? And he was like, no, that'll get you kicked out here.
Which part?
The ending part of the polyamorous direction, because the thing is, the point I'm trying to bring up is there's a difference between nudist and naturalist and polyamorous. There's a clear distinction in some spaces, and this weekend that was one of those distinctions.
Interesting. That's so interesting.
Yeah, complete family. It was like a family-oriented nudist, naked, but not polyamorous.
I just would have this. I would think that people who are radically open about, challenging traditional norms around nakedness would also. I guess this is just my limited thinking, but I would have thought that maybe people who have felt that the power of connection when you are naked with other people would also feel this natural pull to abiding free-flowing relationships. But okay. I
believe you. I believe the same thing, because all the environments that I've pretty much been in have been lifestyle, swinger, open relationships, or poly, and then they also tagged in like the resort I worked at was topless. It was topless. Or Caliente, that's more, it's nudist, but it's also, there are people that are very open sexually and intimately there, and polyamorous, and they're just, but I guess that's the whole difference that we're actually contradicting ourselves right now, is, well, if you're nudist, that means you need to do something that's something that is sexual in that direction, even though polyamory is,
Well, I think that wasn't necessarily my suggestion much as, when you when you become naked with other people the way that I'm doing with you right now, it establishes, I feel this free-flowing energy with you, and I feel a sense of intimacy that is established just by virtue of getting to connect in this way. And so I would think that getting to feel that experience with people in a naked framework would then naturally open people up to this idea that underpins polyamory, which is being able to have free love and being able to exist in relationships of all forms freely. Not necessarily purely confined to sex or about sex even, but even though that's part of it, it's not the whole framework, and it's not the whole ideology. Like, polyamory isn't just about sex, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's about this free-flowing energy and getting to have and experience relationships. And so, like, I would have thought that nakedness would be a gateway to that, you know?
Yeah, no, me too.
Yeah, wow.
And so that was my experience, but I think it also had to do with the family and communal direction and the way they related, and that was the case. So
yeah.
that's a question for you. Do you think, what do you say about the people that say, what about the kids? This is dangerous.
Do people bring that concern up in these nude events?
No. That's not those nude events. No, I'm just saying outside of it, just bringing up the kids dynamic of how people feel about, because that's instantly what I said when I was telling people. I was like, yeah, like I was telling people when I did the Naked 5K, I was like, yeah, there's a few families and kids that lived in this community.
Yeah, so maybe that's why I think maybe like it hasn't reached the general public in terms of nakedness, and why these safe spaces exist is actually it's not a safe space for the people engaging in it as much as the people who don't want to engage in it. Possible. It's just a thought that occurred. Well, you know, because the people who don't want to engage in it, maybe they do have a right to, you know, feel a sense of privacy or protectiveness in terms of either for themselves or for their kids or whatever it may be. It's like, you know, because that has been an established framework, like this idea of being clothed, is like, you know, maybe some people aren't ready to confront that, and maybe people need to confront that in their own time. And so trying to, you know, force it on people isn't necessarily the right approach.
Yeah.
And so having safe spaces and containers to where, you know, we have more options for the people who are willing to explore those spaces while still allowing people their own time to discover that for themselves.
Yeah. I think it just comes down to trying to understand to make the body in like a non-sexual way. And yeah, just because that's the whole direction that we're going in, because I feel like that's what doesn't make people think that there's boundaries and awareness around it.
Say more.
I think when we talk about like this kids direction, they just think that, oh, this space is just gonna be negative hedonism, and kids are not gonna understand, and they're gonna be neglected, and they're gonna be repressed, and they're gonna see something too early. It's gonna be traumatic, and it's gonna, and they're like, okay, if you're naked, then everyone's gonna be in that direction. So I think if people understood the education around it, they would understand that there are boundaries and a high sense of awareness and respect around it. But people don't see that, bro. People don't see that. They don't see that most likely that these kids are learning that at a very young age, that the body isn't something to sexualize, and think that you need to hide your private parts all the time. And so do you think that, do you think that people, if they had more understanding of that,
I think it would need to be clearly defined in any safe space that creates acceptable nudity. I think it needs to be clearly defined what the like platonic rules are. Right? So for instance, in your instance with this cafe idea, it's like you said, it would be strictly platonic during the day and then maybe more open at night. Like that is a explicit guideline that would need to be made so that people who do come in with their children, for instance, you know, they don't want to expose their children to sexuality and to sexual acts before, you know, a certain age or whatever. And so like it would need to be communicated to people who still want to protect their children and want to have those conversations with their children in due time, right? It's a progressive development of the psyche and of an aspect of maturing in terms of, you know, how quickly we introduce our children into these more like mature topics and themes. And so I do think that while the body can be desexualized, it still has sexual potential. And so there is the question of how do we create these spaces in responsible ways?
Yeah, I agree, bro. I don't know how we're we're gonna do it, we're gonna figure it the fuck out. That's why we're here naked doing this, because then maybe there'll be 100 people here, maybe not doing an interview.
I mean, people are already doing it. You know? I mean, like,
I think so
but
too.
I think these nude spaces tend to either be strictly platonic and communal, and also family welcoming, or they tend to be more non-platonic oriented, strictly more non-platonic oriented, and only adults. You know.
Yeah.
And so you bring up a really, really good question for yourself with respect to, you know, if I want to establish a community like this, if I want to create some more spaces, then what are the questions I should be asking myself so that I do that in the best way for society's development?
Yeah. I guess one of the last questions I wanted to ask is more of ones that I've kind of asked before this, is like, when you have said you're going and doing these naked spaces, what has people said? Like apart from the relational component, but just like, you said you're going to this naked party or naked get-together gathering.
this weekly naked event that I go to is it's predominantly, the people who attend are predominantly in the gay community. They define as gay, and so the most common response I get is surprise that I'm there.
Okay.
Because it's much less common, I think, in our framework, for a straight man to show up naked at a predominantly gay event that is also naked. So yeah, it's mostly one of surprise. I would be interested though in exploring. I think I would be interested in exploring different naked spaces.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good thing for me to explore, because I really, really have appreciated what we've done here, getting to connect with you in this way. And it just makes me really interested in being able to like connect with other people in this way. So I would encourage, you know, all the viewers and listeners, you know, obviously, you know, it's important to do things in your own time, but like I said, I've been exploring my nakedness for around a year now, and even so, like, when I get to connect with somebody new and in this way, and in this different way, it's a completely different form than I'm used to. It just allows me to feel like the power of connection and kind of what your whole advocacy is here. It's really awesome. So I would really encourage it for
No, bro, when you start traveling, it's like so Caliente, that's more of like nudist, chill, family direction, but it's still got the swinger, open relationship, polyamorous, open vibe. But then there's like hedonism too. So Caliente is in Tampa, and then there's hedonism, which is in Jamaica. That is intentional. It's not like, it's not fucking everywhere or sex everywhere, but it's like you can get a vibe and understanding that, hey, you go there and you know that you can get with someone or connect with someone in that way if you choose to right away. It's all choice, right? There's no automatic pressure, but more spaces you'll find that are more sexual, some are more like family oriented, like this one here in Austin was, and then ones like that are like Caliente that are a mix of both, or even when I went into Italy and that one, I haven't even been to beaches, bro. I haven't even been to a lot of nude beaches, so I don't even know what that's like. But being able to be in these spaces to connect with people, it instantly creates a bond, because it's something that's outside of the norm. But I think making it normalized and making it a space for people to open up and be free and be seen is important. So
thank you for doing this.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate you. Yeah. All right. Well, that is the Modern Jungle Podcast, and we're here to overall talk more next time, more about reckless freedom and suffocating tradition. But we here talked about a little bit of everything, a little bit about nudity, a little bit about masculinity, a little bit about just liberation in general, and we just got to, just create more space and steps into what we believe in most. And so I appreciate everyone watching. Much love. Keep spreading it. Remember, love, energy, and truth is the answer. Wait, first off, before I end it, is there one last thing you want to say about whether it be about nudity, whether it be about masculinity, whether it be about liberation that you want to touch on, or the stigma, any of those things? Is there one?
Put me on the spot.
Yeah, I'll
Nothing specific. I think this has just been a really great learning experience for me with respect to exploring what masculinity means to me. We touched on, for me, that might just mean exploring my connections with men and what that looks like, healthy relationships with men, and that could be tied back into how I experience masculinity for myself. And then, you know, just in terms of the nakedness, I've just really appreciated this opportunity, and it allows me to feel an interest in exploring other spaces that promote nudity and nakedness and getting to have those connections with people, because I think that does connect back to polyamory in a certain way of like feeling this free-flowing energy and getting to have this experience with somebody on a more intimate level and be like, whoa, like if I could have this with more people, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, bro. I appreciate you. I'm gonna hug you.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. No. And no, same here, bro. And I appreciate you doing, like, I didn't know who was going to be, I don't want to say crazy enough, but who's going to be sane enough to do this? Who's going to be sane, not insane, sane enough to come out here in the modern jungle naked with me, talk about polyamory?
It's a little insane.
Who's going to do it? And so I've a lot of this time cocooned myself into this direction of like, not who's gonna be in the realm and space and to talk about these things and be honest with me and disagree and agree and challenge me, and you've been that, bro. So I appreciate you for coming out here.
I might need a little bit more powder before we leave.
Yo, get them. We actually what we will do. Well, we're gonna end this. We're gonna end this real quick. What? Yes, he's got the purple on him. Where's mine? Where's the fucking?
Where's the blue? Yeah.
Where's the blue?
Where's the blue?
You get the.
Did you put it back?
We're gonna bond it.
Yeah. Now we're integrated.
We're integrated. Much love. Keep spreading. Remember, love, energy, and truth is the answer to my other question. And we're changing the world one bare ass truth at a time. Remember, stay curious. Shot.